How's everybody doing on this fine day? I tell you what, I love springtime. I love it. Everyone's finally getting outside. You're getting to do outside things. I planted a garden with the kids last night, and it's just fun being outside. The cold air. Jack Frost, he's been around too long. I got to admit, I'm happy to just be outside again. Maybe even put some shorts on again and get the sun, get some vitamin D, all the fun stuff. Today, I have a special guest, and it's a double special guest. Let me tell you why. He came up to me at the booth in Orlando, had a great conversation with me. He goes, "Hey, thank you for, doing the podcast and doing what you're doing, but I would love to share what we do to help incentivize our team." And we had a great conversation. He told me what it was about. I loved it. And I said, "You know what? I'm not even going to try and paraphrase this. I'm going to bring him on." And so Tim Fisher, he's third generation with IDS Sign Group. And Tim, welcome on.
Thank you, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You and
Awesome.
me have talked quite a few times, and I'm super excited to listen to you and what you thought of. And this has been going on for 15 years, 20 years. How long have you been doing this?
26 years.
26 years. 26.
Yes.
That's a long
Yeah,
time. It's a long
it
time.
is.
And obviously, you've had great success with this over the years.
For sure. If it was not working, we would not be working with it. So
Agreed.
tremendous success.
I love it. I love it. Well, everybody that has a sign company obviously has employees. And when you have employees, how to incentivize them is different. Some people throw money at them. Some people take them out. I've had one sign owner even tell me that he has rented an entire movie theater out for the night and said, all of his employees, bring your families, bring everybody, and let's just go watch a really cool movie one night. A bunch of different ways. But you had a different approach that I've never heard of before. And I went, you know what? I want to share this. So Tim, if you don't mind, I'm going to give you the floor here and have at it, my friend.
Sure, absolutely. If I could just back up just a smidgen, I'll tell you what my inspiration was to share this program with the sign industry, the sign world. So, first of all, I want to thank you, take a moment and commend you for the time and effort and endless hours you spend, as well as dollars, hard-earned dollars, to try and elevate this industry.
I appreciate that very much. That's very, very kind. It's funny when we started, it kind of started for me with the vendors. The vendors would stop coming around from time to time, and I didn't know all the new cool toys that we could be selling to our customers. And so I started to share internally from the sister companies that I liked. And then after a while, I said, you know what, our voice needs to get bigger. More people need to understand this. So it was kind of a labor of love, but thank you very much for the kind words. Much appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. You got it. So, we've got an abundance of super creative and talented individuals in this business. One thing we do not have are a lot of business owners that have an MBA. And, sharing knowledge such as what you're doing is really truly making a tremendous difference in our industry. It's making the industry stronger. It's increasing profitability. It increases, hopefully, income for both the associates, the team members, as well as owners, to bring it commensurate where it really should be in our industry. We've got incredible skill sets, very, very diverse skill sets that, unfortunately, have kind of taken a back seat, I think, in the art world, because we are truly custom fabricators. So, it's something from the business aspect of it, the business perspective, that's not really thrown out there often. You occasionally might see it at a trade show, go to a conference, but in general, Thursday mornings I wake up, I get in the car, and boom, right? You're always there every Thursday morning. So
I appreciate it. It's funny. I can't echo enough what you just said. In the 90s, we all had just-in-time inventory shoved down our throats. In the early 2000s, just in time. You got to build widgets. You got to build widgets. In the sign company is not widgets. We build custom one-offs. One of my famous sales pitches I'd always give was, do me a favor, go to Ford Motor Company, design a car, and have them build only one. And how much money do you think it's going to cost you to build that one car?
sure.
But that's exactly what you're asking us to do every single day. And so that one off and that artistry, and you're alluding to the artistry, and I love your background with the drums, and that's an art form. Music is definitely art. It's what our industry is. And I think it's one of the last ones that's going to prevail as an art form over the years, because no machine can turn signage into a widget.
I want to take a moment to talk about true champions that are helping the industry out, and that's Wendy Graves. You guys have all known her for Women in Science. She's been pushing that for quite some time, but she's also made a new alliance to help the industry out, and that's with Make It Happen Signage Academy here. I don't want to get this wrong here, so I'm going to read right from this, www.signage-academy/MIH-glance. That's the information. We're going to go ahead and put it at the bottom of the show notes here and on this clip, so you guys can click on it. She's going to be working with the Make It Happen Signage Academy for the Illuminated Signage Bootcamp, what's on the front lines, teaching project managers, sales, and everything in between. So definitely sign up for those things. Wendy's been doing some great work, so you definitely want to support her, and you're going to learn a lot.
Well, your podcast it's inspired me to share one of our business success stories, which is what we categorize as the REAP program. And the REAP program, the word REAP is an acronym for Rework, Elimination, Assistance Program.
Got it.
And
REAP.
REAP. We call it the REAP program. And,
Okay.
We've got a few logos around the building with the guy with the sword, and, you want to reap the rewards of everything you do in life. So let's make this happen and put dollars in employees' pockets. So that's kind of the premise to the acronym and what it's all about. So I did put together a few notes just so that I would not miss anything.
Please.
And I was wondering if I might be able to just kind of spill off of those
No,
notes.
by all means, go for it. I would love to get the full entail of what this REAP program is. So you got it.
So we've been doing this for about 26 years. And, 26 years ago, we had one expensive rework occur. And, the associate that I spoke with, he was kind of unfazed and really unconcerned about the dollars that were spent or the labor that was spent, that now essentially you're throwing it in the trash. And that really just went up my butt, I would say. And, if I'm going to stay in this industry my whole life and have associates producing product, I can't be the only one here proofreading and looking at all these jobs as they go out the door for quality concerns. So, that was, 26 years ago. And I feel like it's gotten worse now with today's generation, because now what I hear, and all of our associates, I've told them, please don't say that, is a very dismissive word called my bad. In the way I'm a little older than you are. So when I hear my bad, you're not really owning that responsibility. You just, oh, my bad. It's $5,000. It's 7 days worth of work. I dropped a sign on a guy's head. My bad. And that's not real life. And it's somewhat dismissive. So, I had to put together a program that would stop the wasting of time and materials. And I felt as though, personal accountability wasn't there 26 years ago, and it's far less here today. So I said, how can we do this? Let's incentivize the employees. If I'm going to spend X number of dollars a year through human error, which we all agree it occurs, but I do know that if we work hard at it, we can become very good at it as far as quality standards and making sure things are going out the door properly the first time. So we put together a program. If I'm going to spend the money, instead of flushing it down the toilet, let's put it in employees' pockets. So we started off with $1,000 years ago, and we basically said, $1,000 is yours. January 1st, $1,000, beginning of the new year. And we want you to keep that $1,000. And it's all within your world to be able to keep it. No problem. So one of the things that we developed that is instrumental to this is a proofing process. 3 signatures on everything is really a core value here. So nothing goes out of this building without 3 signatures. And we've created folders. I have one here that kind of illustrates that. And I circled them in red. This is a particular job that shipped in last month. So April, and 3 signatures go out the door. We find that we're 99% successful when we're able to do that. Additionally, the folders got all of the blueprints in it, the labor steps. It's got a pocket for all of your purchase orders, all of your conversations with the sales team, the client, permitting info, etc. So what happens now is the associates now are kind of safeguarding their $1,000 back then, and it really was very impactful for them because the next time an error happened, it was like, oh crap, that cost me some money out of my bonus at the end of the year. So essentially, throughout the course of the year, we chip away at that, or they chip away at that. And at the end of the year, December 23rd, we have our Christmas party. And at that time, you're given the extra dollars that remain from that $1,000. And it's usually somewhere between $750 and one year we had $960. It's a tremendous year. And everybody really focused on this program.
What I love about this is you kind of say, "Hey, here's your bonus up front, and the more you pay attention, the more you get it. The less you pay attention to this, the less you're going to get. So let's work
Yes.
harder." But you didn't just say that and walk away. You like said, "Hey, the onus is on you. Good luck," and walk away. You still kind of led through a leadership role, and so you showed the folder here, and you have 3 different signatures. Walk me through what each one of those signatures represents.
So within just to back it up a little bit, on our work order, there are labor tax tasks and materials. Each department, every associate that works on it in each department has to sign off in their department. So that's at a company level within the departments. Before it goes out the door, that is when it needs 3 signatures. So it could be any 3 people. Everybody is involved in this program with the exception of our salespeople, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and payroll. Everybody else is qualified to proof a project. So if your particular department happens to be slow, you walk by the men's or ladies' room, you see we put all the jobs in one area. Everybody needs to kind of do their little due diligence to make sure that it's going out the door properly. So that's how we do it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is the job is complete. It's gone through. It goes to a literally Q&A staging area, and
Yes,
anybody in your company can walk by and sign off on a project. And as soon as it has 3 signatures, it's allowed to leave the Q&A area and then be installed.
exactly. Yep.
Dude, I love that on many reasons. Number one, it gives the onus of, hey, now it's over here in this waiting area, and I need 3 signatures before it's allowed to leave. And if this needs to leave tomorrow, you got to pay attention to it. If it's here for a
Sure.
week, bless our hearts, we have a lot more time to work on it. But the other part that I really like about this is the ownership category. Any person can go in there and be a quality control expert. You
Yes.
don't, I will be very honest. I have one Q&A guy in my shop who does the Q&A, and he's very OCD, and that's why I've got him there. But if the Q&A goes out, people go, "Oh, well, Mike didn't look at it," and they blame him versus that. You took and said, anybody can be a Q&A guy. Anybody can sign off on this, but I need 3 people to look at this. I love it. I love it on many occasions. My question to you is, have you ever had anybody not want to put a signature on it because they didn't want to have the onus?
They need to come to me if that's the case. But in general, they will handle it in house because it really is a core principle, a core value for them. They take this program very seriously because now we've upped the ante and they're not walking with $1,000 at the end of the year now. So as our company has grown, we have grown with the program. So if somebody is hesitant to sign off on something, they will bring it to either the production manager or I'm here 4 days a week, so you can run it by me. In general, I trust the production manager. Whatever he says goes. If the client were to bounce it for some particular reason, it's not a REAP. That's what it's called, a REAP.
Yep.
The production manager agreed to send it out. We sent it out. It's a coin toss every once in a while. They're very subtle, small, little things that, let's face it. A channel ladder sets up 35 feet in the air, and on your gem cap, you've got an 1/8-inch space that might not be perfectly centered. Is
Yeah.
anybody really are you gonna make a new face? You're gonna jump out, all the rest of it. So that's how it works. So,
Gotcha.
but the
Now,
nice part is I'm out of this system. They self-monitor it. So it's just one thing off my plate. I don't need to touch.
let's not lie. As an owner, we're carrying so much burden, making sure everything's here, making sure it's there. You know, last week I talked about ownership and being the alpha and what's right and what's correct. And there's just so much that goes on that when you can take something off your plate and put the onus back on the other person, there's so much that goes into the value of that and the benefits that go with it. I can talk for days just on that aspect of having somebody
Sure.
else take responsibility for something. It's funny you talked about the "my bad" thought, and when I remember when people would say "my bad" when it first came out was, I actually liked the saying when it first came out because nobody would take responsibility. Oh, it was Sally's problem or Bob did it, and always somebody else.
Yeah.
And then somebody go, "Oh, my bad." I'm like, well, at least they're taking ownership of that. At least they go, "Okay, it was my fault over here." But it
Sure.
has construed itself and manipulated itself to, meh, who cares?
Yeah. My bad. It's just whatever.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree
that's
with
the
you. When I
business.
hear
So,
that now, I'm kind of like, okay, finish that sentence. It
please,
was your fault. Why?
it's just please, just own it. That's
Y-
all I'm asking you to do is own
yes.
it. Yeah. To
No,
take it further, so when the principles are that um, we have a few very simple basic rules. We set up a line in the sand, which is the perimeter of our building. So you ship things out UPS, you deliver things and install them, and we have clients that occasionally do come in and pick up. So we had to say, okay, well, how are we going to differentiate? At what point does it become a REAP? Well, if it goes over the threshold of the building, it becomes a REAP. So clients call, they come in, they pick it up, it's an error. That's a REAP. The installers go out without a shovel, they know they're digging a hole. That's a REAP because they're driving back here. It's only reaped for the dollar value of their labor, which we just put a flat rate of $40. Doesn't
yep.
matter what department, what operation, what person. It's $40 an hour to fix your mistake. So if a sign, let's say we have 100 ADA signs and one is bad. We don't charge for the whole REAP of the whole project. It's one sign to come back, fix it, material costs, no markup, $40 flat across the hour, an hour across the board. And that's how a rate is established for that particular REAP. And we have one REAP captain here. His name is Rob Siddell, and he does an outstanding job. So when that happens, he has the three people in that did the final signatures. Now, this is a fact finding mission. We have a conference room. They go in the conference room and they talk about not who did it, but how can we make this from not happening again? Is there something we can do different? And that's when 2 proofs went to 3 proofs, and our ratings skyrocketed when we went to 3 proofs. So really, it is truly critical to have that extra pair of eyes. So they will sit and they will discuss what happened, what can we change moving forward to make this never happen again? Because it's not just the costs. Those costs are part of doing business, but it's your reputation with your clients. And it's going out there and not completing the job, screwing up the next day's schedule. You definitely lose confidence in the clients. I mean, everybody's human. I get that. But, it does have an impact on your reputation.
It does. For me, I always say it's 3x. If the air costs $300, it really costs you $900. It costs you $300 to make it wrong, costs you $300 to rebuild it, and then it costs you $300 in the potential work you could have been doing instead of the rework.
It's excellent. I love that.
Yep. And it's so I
Absolutely.
agree with you. Each one reap is really a 3x problem.
When you put it in that perspective, which is a true perspective, we're very generous with the program.
And I was going to point out what I really liked about it is you said a flat $40. That is just your direct costs. You're not putting in the overhead that goes with it. You're not putting in all the extra ones. You're just doing the direct cost. So as an owner looking at this, very generous of you just doing a flat 40.
I think so. And there's buy-in. You've got to have the buy-in, and it can't be one-sided. And you've got to be fair with people, and they will be fair back. So, basically, you would sit down with the reef captain, go through that. The meeting is completed. Once a month, we have a reap party. It's a luncheon. All the installers must be back. If we have a big project and they can't attend, so be it. They can't attend. They get their lunch out on the road. We pay for it. They have company credit cards. But if not, we bring in either subs or pizza or Chinese food or whatever it is, barbecue. And it's once a month faithfully. And at that time, we talk very briefly about the reaps. And let's say there are 5 reaps, that's extensive. I mean, we're pushing through anywhere from 200 to 300 projects in 5 reaps. Could just be one little nameplate in one project. So that many projects in a month, you're doing pretty well. So let's say those 5 reaps, we put it on a piece of paper, we put it in a bucket, and then, it's every month somebody else picks the name out of it. So the first 2 they pick, those are the 2 I eat, or the company eats. So, there's forgiveness here. You're not penalized for everything. So, did you want?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
So, we're giving that a little bit of latitude. Everybody's human. It's fine. We get it. But if there's 1 or 2 reaps, the beauty is not only does the company absorb it, but one associate has a paid day off of their choosing. Only thing we request is a 2-week notice. So in any given year, we have anywhere from 4 to 6 days off for associates. Again, not a big cost to the company. It's the incentive program is phenomenal. Anything more than 2, that starts impacting them. So 3, 4, and 5 of those reaps, they are going to absorb the cost to rework it. We don't include administrative time for entering the work order or dealing with the client. We just figure the shop time on the floor and the installation time, if it was an install, in fact. So that dollar amount, typically it's $40, $50. It's not a lot of money typically. And so let's say there are 3 at $50. Make the math simple. You got $150. This is the only confusing part, which really isn't all that confusing. 10%. Aaron, you're going to eat 10% of that. Okay. $15. $15 is coming out of yours for the month of May. We do it across the board. Now, if somebody leaves the company, they forfeit it. So I'm kind of tight. November, December, I'm kind of tying it. They don't want to walk away from $1,000.
Agreed.
If you start later in the year, we have an associate that starts in, let's say, August. They'll get their 3 months prorated, 1/3, 2/3.
They don't want to get cut out of the loop here, but I love the fact that they forfeit, they leave, because you're going to add longevity to the process here.
And I'll tell you the best part of this. It was one that I never really thought about when I put the program into existence, but associates, they get upset when somebody continues to make an issue, and they will address it where I don't need to.
Yeah.
So Aaron,
they self-regulate.
Yeah. What are you doing? Seriously? So, I mean, now I'm not the bad guy all the time. I'm not the bad guy at all when it comes to this program. Take the money. Just take it all.
Yeah.
Don't give it up. Don't burn it. Don't flush it down the toilet. You paid hourly. Everybody's paid hourly that's on the program. I'm not asking you to do anything more. So, in that perspective, it's worked out pretty well. So
I like it. So you put in 1,000 or 2,000 or, whatever per employee. You get a balance and say, hey, this is the total you can have at the end of the year. The first 2 reaps, it's on the house. We're not even going to look at them. Life is good. In fact, you keep it inside of 2, we're going to even incentivize you more with paid days off.
Yes.
Once you hit 3, 4, and 5, then it's going to hurt a little bit, and then you're going to be a part of it. And then each year they take a look at it. But as a whole, because for people that are listening, you want to incentivize your team to take responsibility. I mean, that's the end goal, hands down. Take responsibility for the project at hand. How do you incentivize in such a way? And with your world, what you did was say, hey, here's all the money up front. I'm going to leave all this money on the table right now, and then I'll slowly take it away as you're not paying attention. But if you're paying attention, it's just going to stay on the table and life is yours at the end of the day.
Correct.
I love it. I
And I'm
absolutely love
more
it.
happy to give it away. I
Mhm.
truly, if it's going away either way you slice it, right?
Yes, it's going to go in warranties or it's going to go in your pocket. One way or another, it's not going to be my money at the end of the day, so I might as well incentivize you to keep it in yours.
Sure, absolutely.
So I will be honest with you. I do things quite differently, but the end goal is exactly the same. Take the onus and responsibility and put it back on the team. And so for me, what I do is I have quarterly profits. And so I look at months 1, 2, and 3, and I say, okay, I'm going to take 10% or 7% of all. And I don't really remember. I just can't remember in my head.
Sure.
I take 10 or 7% of all the profits and dump it into their box. And then I have 2 different scales that I do. You get a half a point for every year you've been with the company. Then you get a 1 through 10 points based on your level. You start at the company and you're pushing a broom, you're a 1. You start to have some skill, you're a 2, 3. You've mastered your skill, you're a 4, 5. 6 through 10, you have to have mastered your skill and have manager's responsibilities. So you're overlooking people, overlooking responsibility.
Awesome.
Even on that scale, I'm a 9. I don't give 10s out. 10's like the perfect golf swing. It's unattainable. But, so really the scale really is 1 through 9. And so my guys have been here a long time, have no managers. They're all 6s. They've been there plus 15. 6 plus 15 is, 21. And then I add them all up and say, okay, out of 400 points, here's 17 grand. 17 grand divided by 400 points. Everybody gets $53, whatever it comes to. And then you go, okay, I have 18 points, 53 times 18. There's my profit for the first quarter. And then the second quarter we do well, they get money. Third quarter we don't do well, there's no profit sharing because there's no profits to be had.
Sure.
And so I let them feel it on a quarterly basis and to keep their head in the game. Because I always felt that a year, they kind of lose their eye on the prize to a point and they kind of get a little complacent. And so for me, it was kind of funny. I was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I'll be very honest with you, it probably took me 3 or 4 years before I was able to actually do it correctly, and dial it in and say, okay, this works. It makes sense. It's here. But again, the whole point at the very, very end of the day was, how do they take responsibility? That was what we're trying to do.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you're winning.
Yeah. No, very much so.
Sure.
So how big is your quality control area in your shop?
Oh, not very large. Maybe, the large freestanding signs, obviously, monuments, pylons, they're all out back on the production floor. So I apologize for that. So they're out back. But you need to go see those. But they will float out and do that. And the actual smaller staging area is probably, maybe 12 by 20.
Okay.
A series of benches. And so it's.
I something that was really good on paper that I never ever to this day, and I built this thing over 15 years ago, got it to work perfectly how I wanted it to, was we had shelves. So when we bought our forklift, the forklift sales guy goes, you just triple the size of your floor. You can actually stack things and now you have way more floor space on your floor. And I said, oh, this is great. Taking that thought process, okay, how about I have big shelves, big racks? And then when the project is done, I shrink wrap it onto a pallet. And then when the installers are ready, we just take the forklift, grab the pallet, dump it on the truck, and away we go.
Love it.
It worked for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then people just started using the shelf for storage and started using the shelf for this. And then every couple of months I could walk out and go, this is not what it's intended for. And we clean it off and get it all ready to go again.
Sure.
And I'm not going to lie, I've abandoned the idea because no one took the onus responsibility. But to this day, on paper, it still seems perfect. and I laugh because every time I look at this thing on paper, I'm like, this is perfect. We should be doing this. But at the end of the day, it just isn't working. So
Sure.
so with that being said, I got to ask, when you first launched this, what hiccups or pivots did you have to do before the reap really made sense?
Surprisingly, it was pretty successful. The days off, we added that as an incentive. We increased it from 1 reap to 2 because our production went up. And of course, you do have an individual that might try and sneak it into a rework situation. We have a solution for that. If you're caught doing that, or somehow it is not brought to the reaps captain before it hits the floor for a rework, it's times three.
Oh, there you go.
Whatever the cost is, if it was $40 a person, now it's $120 a person. So you really don't want to be caught with your hand in the bucket.
I like that. There's the
Yeah.
with with anything, there's a little bit of love and there's a little bit of stick.
Uh,
You don't want the stick, but we gotta be something there a little bit. So yeah, no, that
Perfect.
makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
It's true. Sad but true.
So with this being an election year, and the signage industry always gets hurt a little bit. Everybody kind of stops. There's not a lot of development. Everybody slows down. How is your sign company doing?
We're busy. We're doing very well. We just completed a very large project at the U.S. Naval Academy,
Okay.
and that took us about 4 months last summer, and it was a really, really unique project. So the true corporate name of our company is ID Graphics Group, and within that company we have two divisions. One is ID Sign Group, and the other one is called Honorcraft. And Honorcraft is a very unique company. They deal with strictly donor relations on a very high level. Very, very creative designers. And what was nice was we used to do a lot of work for them years ago, including installation. They came upon a tough time when all the colleges shut down because they were so heavily into colleges and hospitals that financially they couldn't survive. And this company was around since 1962. And thankfully, they reached out to me and said, "Hey, I had a relationship with them, so it worked out perfect." And I had a choice: either I'm going to lose that revenue, or I'm going to buy into that revenue. So thankfully, we bought into it, and that project was over $2 million.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm already excited to talk to you about a couple projects. Donor walls are very difficult. They're not an easy thing by any means. And of course, everybody comes to you and says, "Design me something cool." And of course, you only have so much that is cool until they go, "Oh my God, our budget is broken." So, do you guys do any wholesaling to other sign companies through that?
For you, we would, but typically, no, we don't.
Okay, I'm
It's
with you.
just
I'm with you.
it's end user, absolutely. And
Yeah, end user.
the beauty is
It's
that
such a difficult monster to be on point with and to figure out what it is and how it works. When people bring donor walls, I honestly look at it. As an owner, I do two things. First of all, I'm like, "Ooh, paycheck," and then right
oh,
after that, I go, "Uh oh, who's designing it?"
sure,
They're not easy by any means.
they're not. They're very complex, but they're extremely rewarding and they're challenging. And if you have a couple of really great designers, as we do, that are real go getters, they kill it, they annihilate it. Because our expertise is with the manufacturer. We fabricate here. We had all the equipment previously, and they were pretty much outsourcing everything to everybody. Pretty much a middleman with great design capabilities in house, but not a lot of technical or manufacturing capabilities in house. Even equipment they didn't have. So we've got lasers, we've got CNC routers, we've got digital printers, flatbed, rail to rail, vinyl, full spray booth, cranes, bucket trucks, vans. For us, that piece of what they were bringing to the table, we didn't have, and they didn't have our piece, and they were going out of business. So,
A little
you
match
know,
made in heaven there made it real simple to combine the two companies.
I hate to say it, but COVID was good to us. And thank God we didn't lose anybody,
Yep,
but sadly it was.
I'm with you. Well, I don't know how many sign companies, there's a lot of young sign companies out there, and they've been around for less than 10 years. They're trying to feel their way as ownership and what to do and how to build signs. And they're just focused on building a good sign and getting to the client. And they really don't think about the employees. And they don't think about keeping the good employees there. There's so many things to do besides money. We always have all those talks as what's the number one importance when you go to work? Money's never number one. It's always the camaraderie. I felt loved. I felt appreciated. Those are the number ones. And so to have a REAP program such as this or a quarterly profit sharing program, those are the intangibles that true ownership needs to have in their company in order to survive. In order to flourish and grow and develop, you need to have these programs in place. And I don't think a lot of sign companies think that far ahead or look at the big picture. It's hard to do when you got your nose in the weeds trying to get that sign out, and you're trying to get the client happy and you're trying to get paid, and all these little things that come into the project. And next thing you know, you're sitting there going, what did I do today? I don't even remember.
Sure.
But these programs never come to the forefront of your mind until you lose high-end client or high-end employees. Once you lose high-end employees, then you stop, you sit back and you go, I need to fix this. And this is the answer. The REAP program is the answer. This is a great way to incentivize your team. And on top of that, take the responsibility and the onus off of the ownership.
Absolutely. They're your greatest resource, your greatest asset.
Yeah.
Without them, would be unemployed.
Well, 100%, 100%. I'd be the next fry cook for sure. Well, Tim, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast and sharing that. Those are one of the things that makes ID Sign Group unique and makes them great. And for you to take the time to share that with everybody else and say, hey, this is a benefit you can add to your employees right now that really doesn't cost you anything. Because like we've said before, it's going to go in warranty, or it's going to go in your pocket, one of the matter. So no matter what, you're not making more money off of this, but the incentive is there. So thank you really, truly for sharing that with the industry and letting us know that, hey, there's another way to, help your fellow guy out.
Right back at you, my friend. Keep up the great work.
Much. I appreciate it.
Can't put a price tag on what you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Great words from Tim and everybody here, and we'll talk to you next week.